There's a death, there's a marriage, there's a divorce, there's something. In this case, the movie was that the president became president and probably didn't even expect it himself. So suddenly he's thrown into this new world, and that's scene one. Scene one, where it's chaos and trying to figure it out. You know, nothing's perfect, but your family unit is strong. You don't have any divorce, and it's two parents and all that. Well, congratulations. Aren't you lucky? But you know, that's not the rest of the world. You know, a kid doesn't get to choose if they have two loving parents. In the real world, that Stormy Daniels was getting a divorce from her husband. And I'm thinking to myself, what? How is this the final straw? You know, I'm just imagining the husband of a porn star.
Cheeky tweet about Jeff Bezos' divorce. He said that that Jeff Bezos, that there was some reporting by a competitor. So the first funny thing is that the president calls the National Enquirer a competitor to the...
You're a Saudi Arabia security force, and you know the boss wants you to find a way to make your biggest critic ineffective. Well, failure is kind of a bad deal, right? You don't want to be the underling that failed, even if there was no direct order. Over my entire life, I've never met anybody who got a divorce and then 5 years after the divorce said, you know, I wish I hadn't gotten that divorce. I've never heard of it. Not a single time. By the time people make this change, it's time for the change because it's so hard. Today, when divorce is easy and kids are nightmares of just a lot of work, still people will say, yeah, I'm glad I had him because of how it makes me feel. And people who have had kids that are, you know, not turds, they do love their kids and their kids respect them. I don't think any man gets divorced because he wants to. Like, there's no man who says, oh, my plan is to go get divorced. You know, life happens. Things happen. Divorces happen. And half of the people who get divorced are men, roughly speaking. So for her to use as an... When do people get a great mate? All right? How often does divorce happen? A lot. It's because we're not good at picking somebody who's good for us that's going to last forever. So there needs to be some kind of other model where a kid can thrive despite having one parent. Sex crimes in the context of a divorce or a custody battle, probably pretty high. I would expect that in that context, you would see a higher percentage of false accusations. So should you use those numbers when you're looking at Kavanaugh? That doesn't seem fair, because that would be a, you know, if you could divorce the things that Biden says and the things that he's done and his policies, if you could imagine all of that away and just listen to the tonal quality of his voice, it's really presidential. And I have a feeling that a lot of the reason that people think he's, you know, their guy in the... So I guess he was tweeting about his divorce and, you know, implicating his wife for having potentially an affair with Meek Mills, but maybe not. You know, maybe that's not what he meant. We don't know. But there's something interesting going on there. Even Chappelle went to Wyoming. And so the first thing I'm going to say is, if you can divorce yourself from the opinions, the political opinions of the four people, and just say, we live in a country where those four people literally, you know, the people who would... Scott, I do a pretty good impression of, Scott, why don't you come on in for us and we'll tell you our opinion. That's not what's happening. They're literally asking for my opinion to their audience. Now, to the extent that I'm a good influence, and I am, that neither of them want to take the risk of being single. Because a divorce is a really big risk. You know, sometimes you have to, because the risk of staying married is worse if there's abuse. But could it be that people who remain single have a higher tolerance for risk. Yeah, no, it's easier than that. Divorce. It's it's much easier than that. Do you know where there are children in worse shape than the kids in the cages? Pretty much everywhere. Yeah, all over the planet. Probably hundreds of millions. Here's the first question again. So the nation with no-fault divorce is supposed to stay married to the Syrian Kurds forever? So the frame that most people who were critical of this were putting on this is that the Kurds are allies, and you never leave an ally. You know, they fought on the same team, they were helpful, they were bad happening to somebody. There's an affair, they get a divorce. I won't even watch that. Those things depress your chemistry. And even if you might, and sad music. Don't listen to sad music, sad movies, sad TV shows, sad books. Get them out of your life. All right, framing. So if we can, for a moment, divorce ourselves from the science and the truth and the models and all that, which are fun topics. But today, just looking at the persuasion framing, it's a pretty powerful framing because it feels true to me. Somebody's asking about divorce and division of assets. No, don't worry. I'm an adult. I live in the real world. I know all the risks, and we do what we needed to do.